Hello, everyone. Welcome into another episode of the Four Quarters podcast powered by Four Quarters Media. I'm your host, Tyler Bennett, here with you once again. Episode 36 is on tap as we continue to wind down season 2 of the podcast, take a break for the holidays, come back in the new year. Before we get in to episode 36, I need to, acknowledge, apologize, whatever it may be, however you want to take this. I was talking to my wife earlier about the podcast and kind of what's ahead and keeping her in the loop on when I record. She goes, "Remember when you called it 4 quarters and said it was going to be 4 quarters an episode?" Yeah, they didn't last long. And she's like, "Yeah, remember when you said you're going to stick to the premise of the show this time?" She flat out called me out. The premise didn't last very long. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know if it'll go back to that or not. Who knows? But if you come into this looking for 4 10-minute quarters of different topics, apologies, because that's not how it goes anymore. I don't think I stuck to that very long. But leave it to her. Leave it to Nicole to call me out every single time. That's what marriage is for. Episode 36. We stay on the West Coast, kind of work our way back towards Ontario a little bit. We make a pit stop in the ACAC, joined by Lethbridge College Kodiaks men's basketball guard Jackson Kasko, joined by the veteran guard, talking everything from his career to why he thinks Derrick Rose was the best player in the NBA and could have been the best player in the NBA, to his 2019-2020 season at Lethbridge and the accolades and awards that he brought home. Just overall, a great chat from start to finish. We did have a couple minor technical difficulties during the show. For whatever reason, Zoom decided to boot him off, essentially. He was there. I kept talking. He was not there. So we'll edit those out. We cleaned those up as best we can, but there are a couple instances where he just disappears. It is what it is. It's 2020. Anything like this doesn't faze me anymore. This year has been a train wreck, to say the very least. You just roll with it at this point. But overall, really good discussion. Really good to hear more of Jackson's story, kind of how he got into basketball in the first place, kind of what he did during COVID and during quarantine to kind of take his mind off of the game. That may sound a little weird, but kind of how removing himself from basketball 24/7 really helped him improve. And he shares the one thing he did or started doing a lot more of that he got really interested in, how that has helped him become a better basketball player and just helped his body, his mind, everything in his life overall. Something I need to try. I say in there in the episode I might try it. Exercise caution, probably not. Then we got into kind of how the 2019-2020 season played out for the Kodiaks. Really strong regular season, 20-1. Playoffs didn't end as well as they'd hoped. So we got his thoughts on the entire year, and then we looked at what lies ahead, kind of how good the team can be in 2021-22, hypothetically speaking, if everybody comes back that's on the roster this year, including a group of 4 veteran guys, Jackson as one of those 4. And then we look at kind of his ideas on how we can get the level of coverage in Canada to where it needs to be and where it deserves to be. So just start to finish, a lot of fun. And we got his opinions on who people think he looks like as a celebrity. Spoiler alert, He disagrees. I see the resemblance. I see where people are coming from. Makes sense to me. I get it. I mean, if I was compared to the guy he was compared to, I'd take it and run with it. He disagreed. So you be the judge. But with that all said, let's jump right in now to episode 36 of the Four Quarters podcast, powered by Four Quarters Media, with myself and Lethbridge College Kodiaks guard Jackson Kasko. Enjoy. All right, so now thrilled to be joined by a member of the Lethbridge College Kodiaks, guard Jackson Kasko. Jackson, first, I want to thank you for doing this. I know we talked just before we came on. You're probably the first guest who rode a tractor this morning and then came on this afternoon. How are things on your end out west before we get in?
Well, first, I just want to say thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. Things are as good as they can be for me right now. Obviously, everybody's kind of just in a weird place with everything going on in our world. So,
right.
I'm just trying to make the most of everything that's happening. So, yeah.
That I guess I'll thank you for coming on too. Your name's come up a couple times from people, members of the coaching staff, other players that you've played with, to have you as a guest. So glad we were able to finally make it happen. Yeah, I mean this year's been crazy. Like we talked about too before we came on. Alberta's going the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
We're going the wrong way. Like it's like I don't even know at this point. Like 2020 can't end soon enough. But I know when it ends, this isn't going to end. So, I mean, we're just clinging to any sort of hope we have to get normalcy, which I miss.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's there's been some big adjustments we've had to make, especially like with our day-to-day lives, not even just with basketball, but
right.
Yeah, it's been tough to find some normalcy. But I feel like there's been, for me personally, like some good things have come out of it as well. So
yeah. How did you spend your quarantine or I guess the start of this all? Because I mean, we're all just kind of going from busy all the time to nothing. Like school shut down, like you're stuck at home, trying to find any way to fill time outside of like school and work. Like, what did you do to pass time? Because it seemed like we had a ton of it, and the days went by so slow, but so fast at the same time.
Right. Well, for me, like, I actually, like, my family owns like a cattle feedlot, so I was able to work and do school, like you said. But besides that, like, I actually had like the chance to be able to get into a weight room for the entire quarantine, which was super nice. Like, so I was in there 4 or 5 times a week. Put on some good size, which is like for a guy like me, like I'm 5'10" or whatever. So
right.
Put on a little bit of size, which was really nice. And then, we couldn't get in any gyms really. Like, we actually had a summer league running in Raymond, like right by Lethbridge, but we had to follow a bunch of COVID guidelines to make that happen. But still, It wasn't like we could get into a gym and just train every day. So most off seasons, I'm pretty used to like training outside. That's just what I like to do. I like it. So it wasn't. I could just keep doing that. So honestly, like.
So minor technical difficulty. It kind of just, I don't know what happened. It just kind of booted Jackson off. As soon as you started talking about working out outside, I think people somehow on the back end of Zoom knew that you were working out and people couldn't. So I don't think they like to hear that part. So kind of what was your kind of workout regimen outside, I guess? Like you said, your parents own a cattle feed farm, I think is what it said.
Yeah, that's right.
What is your workout regimen outside all the time?
Well, like just like we have like a hoop out here, so I get to get on the court pretty much every day. My brother played basketball in high school, or I've like all my friends played ball, so I would get together with them. We would just train, get shots up, work on moves, play one-on-one, like just going through different things that I want to get better on. I really wanted to focus on my ball handling and just like creating off the dribble.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like getting shots up, super important. And like, I felt because of the quarantine, and I have things like a weight room or a place I can shoot. Like I felt like I wanted to take advantage of that because lots of people didn't have those things,
Right.
or maybe wouldn't just go out of their way to try to find places where they could do stuff like that. So I really wanted to use it to give myself an edge. And like, so far, like you can't really gauge how good you're getting when you're just like playing against the same people all the time. But like
Right.
now going back to practice, like I definitely feel like, the work is paying off, and getting back with the team has been really good. I've been able to train with like our assistant coach, Michael Clemens,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of the guys on the team. Obviously that's been awesome to just get back in the gym with them, and then, get back to training. And so that's been kind of a return to normalcy for me. But
Right.
yeah, it's of course it's been tough, but I've been able to get a lot of good work in.
So really, like you said, you kind of work out outside all year, like in the summer as it is. So really, with gyms closing, it really wasn't that much different for you, but you also had access to a weight room when other people didn't. So you kind of got the best of both worlds.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know. There's just something about playing outside, playing basketball outside. Like it just feels pure to me. Like
Right.
that's like the roots of how I started playing basketball outside on the
Mm-hmm.
blacktop, right? So it's something that like keeps me close to the game, and like I don't know. It's almost like a spiritual sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like you see, like even like watching back like Space Jam, like you see young Michael like shooting on the driveway and the chain net. Like there's just something about basketball outside that's just, I don't know, you can't really describe it other than like you said, it's pure. Like it's just on its own level of pureness, I guess, for lack of a better term. That's terrible. That's a terrible
Absolutely.
word. But um, did you watch any of the bubble, the NBA,
Oh
while
yeah.
this was on?
Oh yeah. All every day it was on. Like, I would my work schedule was pretty like tough. Like just working on the feedlot, I would go like either like 6 or 7 a.m. work till 4 or 5 p.m. and then train whenever I could. But I get to record the games or stream them somehow. So it was I think it was like one of the coolest ideas that the NBA
Yeah,
has had in a while. Like that,
yeah,
the level of the game, how high it was being played at was
hmm
just it was incredible. Like
yeah.
there's just guys with huge performances that they're good players, like Jamal Murray, for example. Like
Right,
obviously, excellent player, but he's dropping 50 balls in the bubble. Like,
right.
oh, it's crazy. I loved it.
And then you get like a team like the Suns that go 8-0, and like it's just like storylines like crazy in this bubble with no fans at all until obviously the finals. They bring in like families and whatever else in the playoffs, but it was so different. But like after like the first like two games, like I didn't even realize there were no fans. Like it just got so used to it after a while that, I mean, I'm not really there to watch the fans anyways. But then they add in the video board at the back, and the whole thing was just kind of fun. And there were no COVID cases, which was even better.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And like, yeah, it was just incredible. Like, shout out to one of my old teammates, Robert Miles. He's a big Suns fan.
Okay.
I think they're a good team. I think they might have overachieved a bit in the bubble,
Oh,
but
100%.
Book Booker's nice. But
They capitalized on the unfamiliar surroundings for everybody
Mhm.
and just they made it fun. I mean, their Twitter, like their social media went crazy every game when they were 8-0. Like that was a ton of fun to watch. Uh, the reason why I bring that up is one of the questions that came in on Instagram. It said to ask you who the best in the NBA is,
Right now, the best
or
player in the
just in general. Who do you think is the best in the NBA?
Okay, well, I mean, like, whoever asked this question was probably just like baiting me, like, because they know like I'm a huge Derrick Rose fan. So
They
they just wanted to say like I'm
mhm.
not delusional where to the point where I know Derrick Rose isn't the best player in the NBA, but he's my best player in the NBA. I think right now it's hard to argue with like. Uh, I'm gonna say Kevin Durant is the best player in the NBA right now.
Okay.
I think it's hard to argue with that because for most guys, you can make an argument like something in their game is missing or they haven't done something. But KD's like the only thing you could really argue is like off the court stuff, like
Right.
oh he's a snake or he has burner Twitter accounts. Like, but on the court you can't argue with 7 feet
No.
guard handle, 40-foot range. Like yeah.
I think most guys probably have a burner account too. He just got caught.
Yeah, true. Probably.
I only asked you half the question because the second half was someone saying like ask him who his favorite player is or the best in the NBA is. I guarantee he'll say D Rose.
Yeah, I knew it. That's funny. Yeah, I love Derrick Rose. I've followed him like even when he was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
He got drafted. The Bulls are my favorite team, so when he got drafted in 2008 to the Bulls, it was perfect for me. Like, yeah. I love D Rose.
How, in your opinion, then, with you having followed him at Memphis and kind of now with the Bulls and kind of through his whole career, how good do you think he could have been without his injury? Because I mean, Rookie of the Year in 2009, MVP at 22 in 2011. How good do you think he could have been?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's hard to argue. Youngest MVP ever. Like,
Yeah.
I think people now try to argue it because they're like, oh, it's like they gave it to him based on a narrative. You know, like he's a young guy, he's leading this team, the best record in the league. But if you were actually like watching him, like you're a part of that team, you know, you're a fan, you're watching that season, you'll see like he was the most important player in the league to his team that year for sure. Like people argue LeBron every single year, but I'm like, if you watch the Bulls play, like they are nowhere close to as good as they were without D Rose. So, I mean, if he didn't get hurt, I think he's still one of the best players in the league today. Like he's still like performing really well. And if he didn't get hurt, loses some of his athleticism, like in my opinion, there's no reason he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer to me. But he would have been like one of the best point guards of all time for sure.
Oh, like he was just on, like watching him play at Memphis too. Like I'm always a big college guy. Like watching like that Memphis team that went 38-2, I think it was. And if it wasn't for his like they invalidated his SATs, which I mean whatever. Like the guy still led a team to 38 wins.
Yeah,
and like to win the MVP and then like 2 years later tear your ACL. Like that's tough. And like I wonder like about guys like him and like Brandon Roy, like what they could have been if they stayed healthy. Yeah, this could be a completely different NBA, completely different conversation if they were healthy and Brandon Roy's not coaching a high school team and D Rose isn't a veteran guy now on his 5th team, I think it is, 4th or 5th team.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, since you are a Bulls fan too, with NBA free agency coming, the draft coming, do you think the Bulls should trade Zach LaVine?
I mean, I love Zach LaVine. I think he's a great scorer. To me, I don't think he's necessarily like going to be your best player on a championship team. He could be like your second best player for sure because just how he can score, he can score from all 3 levels. I think if he, you know, committed himself defensively, played with a little bit higher of a motor, he would be really good on that end because of that, his athleticism and length. But like in saying that, I think the Bulls have a young team right now. So there's the potential to try to build around him and get some more experience, a little bit more playoff success, especially like got 4th pick in the draft. That's you know, it could turn into a really good prospect. Like, so I mean, unless you're getting something like excellent back, I don't think there's any need to trade him right now. Like, yeah.
I think now is the time of year where you see just these wild rumors come around, and then with having like a 77-day or 71-day off season, like it seems like now is just that much worse. Like everybody could potentially be traded. Like, I know Russ requested a trade from Houston, but then like right before we came on to do this, I read on Twitter that Harden may be going to the Nets.
Yeah, I heard that earlier today too.
For like some package that includes like LeVert, Dinwiddie, Prince, and Allen. And it seems like that's the most logical, and it could be done by the 22nd.
Yeah.
What is happening with
crazy.
the NBA? Like, it seems like nobody is untouchable anymore.
Yeah.
Except LeBron.
Yeah.
Who kind of dictates his own team and does what he wants and gets the guys he wants and goes from there.
Right. Yeah. Especially with, like you said, the compact offseason, like it's just there's something happening every day. And apparently everybody's gonna go to the Lakers or the Knicks. So that's all the Lakers and Knicks fans think. So
like, apparently they just think they have money everywhere to buy whoever they want, and then Chris Paul's like, yeah, I'll go to the Knicks, and then you see that he's like Russ too, like going to the Knicks, and there's rumors he's going to the Clippers for Paul George, and like everybody says they're going to go to the Knicks, but then they see what the Knicks actually are, and then they just run the other way.
Exactly.
They see the bright lights of New York, and then they see the results of New York, and then they say, I'm okay. I'll pass on that. I feel like there's a lot of pressure going to New York too. Just whatever sport it is, New York has so much pressure.
For sure. Yeah. I imagine that's for some guys. I think that might be a draw. Like, if you think you can thrive under that pressure, but for others, they're like, why would I go there when I could just go here, play well, and they would love me no matter what. So
yeah, you have one bad game in New York, and there's headlines the next day to trade you. And
exactly.
you could be LeBron. You could sit out a game because you're hurt, and they would call to trade you the next day. Like, New York has no filter at all. You mentioned kind of getting your start in basketball, just kind of playing outdoors. What was it that first got you into basketball? Like, why was basketball the sport for you, or was it the sport for you at the start?
Well, pretty much what happened, like my dad basically just wanted, like I have 3 other siblings, so he wanted us to just do some type of sport, like just play something so we could get exercising, just meet people, all that kind of stuff. But so he made me like try a bunch of different things. Like I tried tennis one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was brutal. And like I have like a vivid memory. We were playing tennis and I hit the ball and it like goes into the parking lot, and I'm just like, I'm so done with this. And then in my head, for some reason, I was just like, I want to try playing basketball, because I thought, this makes no sense now knowing what I know, but I thought nobody like in my area played basketball, which is absolutely ridiculous, because like Southern Alberta is just like a super big basketball hotbed.
Right.
So I was like, I'm just gonna play basketball. Nobody does it. But then, I was obviously very wrong. So I started getting into it that way. And another kind of weird thing, like my parents both worked when I was younger. So we had a babysitter, and she used to play basketball like at the college level. So she just kind of introduced me to the game. Like we had a hoop in our yard, and yeah, she just like taught me how to do layups, taught me how to shoot with proper form, and we would just like go it every day. It's kind of weird that, that's how I learned to play the game, but it gives me like a greater appreciation for everybody that's played the game, because they have something to offer, right? Like it has something to teach me. I could take something from anybody. So I think that kind of gave me a good perspective and a good start to like understanding basketball. So that's kind of how I first got into it. But yeah.
I bet whoever the young lady was who taught you at the time, I bet she couldn't have found a better like babysitting job. She's getting paid to watch you guys, and then she gets to teach you basketball and play basketball at the same time. Like, that's like a win-win all around.
Yeah. Yeah. It must have been perfect, because like all my siblings eventually started playing ball in like yeah, it was kind of all because of her. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's super cool actually.
Yeah.
It also gives me like a greater respect for like the women's game. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
something that gets dragged quite a bit, and
Oh,
it's definitely not deserved. Definitely
no.
not deserved. There's
Like,
high level of skill in the women's game, and I really like appreciate it a lot.
you saw that this year too with the WNBA. We see it every year with the WNBA, but I mean, just with the bubble too. Like even with their like constant like fight for racial equality, they held that firm every game that was at the forefront, and they
Mm-hmm.
got dragged for that, and let alone the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with you. I think the women's game deserves a lot more respect than it does get, and it having a woman like the lady who taught you kind of gives you that appreciation for the game that most people should hopefully have at some point in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think everything that the WNBA and the NBA did with Black Lives Matter. Also, I just want to say this real quick. I think that's super important because
Mm-hmm.
it's a major issue in not only in America but in our world. So
Mm-hmm.
just bringing attention to that and doing stuff to spread the message was really important to me, and it opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. I've kind of been aware of that, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but it made me want to educate myself more, which
Right.
like just as a white male, I think is super important so that I know like the history, everything that's happened. And, I got to continue educating myself, of course, but I just wanted to say Black Lives Matter is super important to me.
I think that I'm going to go off that a bit too. Now, I think that's a big thing, like you said, like the continuing to educate. I think I talked about this with Bobby Mitchell of UBCO on Friday, and he said like it was big when it first went, I guess for lack of a better term, like came out publicly, like with the death of George Floyd
Mm-hmm.
and Blackout Tuesday with everybody posting a black square. After that, it kind of stopped,
Mm-hmm.
and people kind of did it to be, I guess, trendy, I guess. But this is not a trend, and I think the big thing, like you said, is just continuing to educate because like we're both white males.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm willing to bet, like myself, you don't know nearly like a fraction of what the oppression's been like for them, right? So I mean, the only way we're going to learn is to educate, like you said, and to be continuous with it, not just say read a story and done. Like it's on all of us to fix, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Education and love, I think those are the most important things.
Yeah.
Education and love.
And don't go in trying to think you know it all and try to fix it right away because that's not going to work. If you're uncomfortable reading about it, just listen. Just shut up and listen. And I guess that's well, everybody finds their own way to help. Just find yours. Be a part of the solution, not the problem, and we'll be better off for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What were we talking about before? Oh, right. How you got into basketball.
Yeah, yeah, basketball.
Was playing college basketball always a goal for you once you kind of got the hook of it? Or was this just kind of play for fun, see what happens, and then one thing led to another and you're at Lethbridge?
Yeah, absolutely. It was always a goal for me. Like, I ever since I started playing really seriously, I was like in like the fifth grade. It was just like all consuming for my life. Essentially, like everything I did was related to basketball,
Right.
relating to my goals to reach college basketball and do a bunch of things. So, and it's kind of funny because now that I've learned to structure my life so it's not all consumed by basketball, I've actually seen more improvement in my game. Not to say I didn't improve a ton, but like just like essentially from the start of this quarantine period, kind of diversifying my interests or finding other things that I could do that in some roundabout way improved my game. Like
Right.
it's kind of weird how that works, but yeah, it's always been a goal of mine for sure to play college, especially at Lethbridge. I always wanted to play close to home. So
Okay. We talked about this before, kind of what you did quarantine, kind of working out outside. What were some of the things you did then to kind of take your mind away from basketball so it wasn't just all basketball all the time, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like you, it's just 24/7 basketball, basketball, basketball. And I think
Mhm.
that's one thing now with kids too. Like, they just play one sport all year round. And I think they need to do other things in the off season or whatever. But what were some of the things you did then to kind of take your mind off of basketball? Like, what hobbies or whatever you discovered that you didn't know you had?
For sure. Well, like at the start, honestly, I would have just wanted to do something related to basketball all the time.
Right.
Like last year, I felt just so consumed by the game.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I love the game so much,
Mm-hmm.
but at a certain point your body starts to get exhausted and your mind starts to get exhausted. So I knew like, okay, I'm locked up in the house for months on end essentially. I have to find something to do other than basketball or I'm just going to get sick of it. So
Right.
one thing I started taking really seriously was like um, just paying attention to what my body actually wants to do and what my mind wants to do. So I started
Mm-hmm.
getting into like meditation a lot.
Okay.
And yeah, like, so that was something that I've become like super interested in. And I had done like some practice with meditation and different things like that before this quarantine period started. But once I was locked in the house all day, you have no choice sometimes but to sit around and just
Right.
relax. So I
Right.
might as well do something productive. So, I took up meditation and is something that's enhanced my life in so many ways outside of basketball. But, especially in basketball, like it's helped me become more focused. It's helped me, play more confidently.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many benefits. I definitely recommend every athlete, every person honestly should look into some type of meditation
Mm-hmm.
if you're interested in it, that kind of thing.
I think it kind of forces you to kind of like slow down and like realistically like remove yourself from everything, even if it's for like 5 minutes. And I mean, I'm like you, like it was just, I'm always on the go, like it's always something. So I think I might need to take up on that to try to meditate. But I think honestly, if my wife saw me meditate, she'd probably think something was wrong, because I don't know, I honestly don't know how to stop doing
Oh my
something.
god,
Like
that's
it,
funny.
like quarantine, I was the worst for me. And I'm sure she would say the same thing if she could hear me. She would probably nod and agree.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
she probably almost kicked me out. I don't know how many times, just because I get fidgety and I need to do something. Meditation, she would probably think I was dying.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
Something.
my girlfriend is I got my girlfriend to do it a couple times with me and she's just like, I don't understand this at all. I was like, yeah, it's just but it works. It does really slow you down. It
Yeah.
makes you like, I don't know. It makes you think less, which is good actually. You're
Yeah.
more present, I think, which is, should be the goal. Is my goal, be present. So,
I
yeah.
think I think a lot of people can benefit from being more present in the moment and just
Mhm.
shut your brain off. She was doing, my wife was doing yoga and like fitness classes, like virtually the start of it. And she got me to do one with her. And I noticed after that, we think about this, she never asked me again. But I think it's because I think I talk too much during it. Because one, I'm not flexible. Two, I don't know what I'm doing. And three, I just don't stop. So she asked me once, and I realized she never asked me back again. I'll have to bring that up after we're done. Thanks
Yeah.
for bringing that to my attention. I mean,
Uh, no problem. Hopefully it's all good. Maybe she'll ask you again. That'd be good.
I doubt it. I don't think she will. She'll probably take that as a hint and be like, you just no, you lost your privilege. You can't work out, and it
It's
is what
done.
it is, I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm better for it, I think. It wasn't that fun. That hurt. Like, it was a 30-minute yoga class, and it hurt for 2 days.
Oh yeah. Not worth it then.
No, not at all. Like, I don't like. It's not fun. Like, hurting for 2 days from stretching should not be a thing.
No, for
But here
sure.
we are. looking kind of at last year, we're not going to really get into the season as much off the top. Kind of want to talk about kind of more of the off-court kind of accolades that you got as well. You were a team captain, if I'm not mistaken. You were also the inaugural male recipient of the Calgary Flames Foundation Leadership Scholarship, which was awarded to student athletes that excel in leadership, community involvement, and academics. Also described online as the unsung heroes of Kodiaks athletics. And you were a CCAA National Scholar. Did I miss anything?
I think that's it. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
When you were named a team captain, what did that mean to you to be kind of seen as the leader of, or a leader of this group that you've played alongside?
Well, I mean, for me, like, I think being able to be a leader and, bring a group together is one of the best skills that I have personally. It's something I've had to work at. And like, I mean, for some people it comes a bit more naturally, but it wasn't necessarily the case for me. And I had to learn, from leaders that I've had, like coaches or, older guys on my teams. Like in my first year, we had an old team. Like I was 18 years old. We had, guys that are in their mid to late 20s and, just taking things that they had given to me. Like Corey Richardson was a big influence on me. Grady Taylor, Pierce Van Galen, again, Rob Miles, like all those guys, just watching how they approach their day-to-day, routines, or how they talk to guys on the team, how they interact with coaches, how they, approach a pregame even, like, so seeing that and then kind of, implementing it into my own preparation, my own day-to-day life, that helped me become a better leader. So when I was named a team captain, I was a captain my third year too, alongside Mike. And like, even that was like, a super, super fulfilling accomplishment for me because, obviously you have to be somewhat good at basketball, like the team captain, I think, because if you're not, then your teammates won't respect you. So
right,
it solidified that I'm a good player, but I'm a good leader, which is important to me because that's transferable to every part of life. And then when I was named a team captain again last year, again, that was super fulfilling because I knew we were going to have a really good team and I was going to be one of our leaders. So that opportunity to lead such a talented group and such a fun group was awesome. So, yeah.
And you go from like your first year having an older team and you come in last year, bit of a younger group with a lot of like first and second year guys, still had real strong season overall. Obviously didn't end quite the way you'd like, but for you, kind of on the national scholar piece, and I mean, to get one of those, you have to have at least a 3.3 GPA and play for a sport. So that's no slouch in its own right. And I think it's one thing I've said on here several times with players and coaches that Canadian colleges really put that student piece first. And I think like with Lethbridge, you guys had 49 CCAA national scholars, which was 17 more than anybody else in the ACAC and second in Canada. So I think that speaks to the whole college and their academic focus. For you, kind of what's the goal, I guess, after basketball before we get into the season? Obviously having the strong academics you have, what's a focus for you outside of basketball?
Well, I want to be able to keep the game in like as a part of my life in some capacity. Of course it's everybody's dream to continue playing, and like, I'll play if it's a beer league or if it's whatever, I'll play. I'll always play. Like if I get asked to play, I'll play. But one thing that I'm super passionate about is like mental health and that kind of thing. So I would want to use my education to benefit people who suffer from mental health issues. And I think, I'm setting myself up pretty good to do that right now.
Right.
And yeah, I think after basketball, whether it's as like a sports psychologist or a
Okay.
general psychologist or something like that, that's what I kind of want to do when it comes to a job after basketball, or trying to still keep the game
Right.
as a part of my life.
In one way, shape, or form, kind of have kind of like one foot or like one toe in basketball doing something else that kind of relates to life either on or off the court.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so with your kind of being as passionate as you are about mental health, how important to you is November? Because I can tell that you're going a bit on that, unless this is a regular thing. Then, I mean, all the power to you.
No, I'm not a facial hair guy at all.
No.
only only in November. So, I think it's, for a good initiative, raise awareness for men's mental health, prostate cancer, all that kind of stuff. So any way that I can contribute, whether it's through a donation or just growing a mustache for a month, like that seems super easy to me. Right. Like, so of course I will do it. And yeah. I urge anybody else to do the same. So,
I want to throw a disclaimer in there. I wasn't allowed to grow facial hair. Not that I can anyways. I'm not saying I can by any means. Not allowed.
Not allowed. That's fair.
But I mean, like growing a mustache, like if you, obviously, I'm not saying everybody has to donate, but I mean, if you can't financially donate, which is completely acceptable.
For sure.
Growing a mustache, like you said, is easy. And I think, especially in November, people see a mustache, it sparks a conversation. People ask that it's about November, gets more people talking about mental health for men, which I think goes severely under talked about. And I think if that's all you can do is grow a mustache, grow it. Do what you got to do. Do your part. But I think, again, it comes back to, we said Black Lives Matter. Find a way that you can help and do it. If growing a mustache is your thing, who cares if it's patchy? Just grow it.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine if it's patchy. Mine's patchy, so if you're contemplating growing one,
just do it.
Just go for it. Yeah.
One of these years, I might grow enough of a pair to grow one. We're in our 10th year, and I don't think I've ever grown one past like 5 days.
Oh.
So I'm more curious to see what it would look like, or how bad it would look for a month.
You just got to go for it. At one point, just be like, whatever, just go for it and see what happens.
I lived in Calgary for 2 years before we were married, and she stayed out here in Ontario, and I was on my own, and I still didn't even do it then.
Wow.
Because we'd FaceTime, and she'd be like, "You gotta shave it." Damn, I can't. Like, you can't avoid it. I mean, I don't think I can go 30 days without FaceTiming, because then I'd get in trouble for that. And then she'd come back on in December and it'd just be hair, and she'd be like, "Well, what did you do?"
Yeah,
and it's like a double-edged sword. I'd lose either way, so it doesn't make any sense to me.
Man.
Looking at kind of last year, then the on-court stuff. I mean, you guys are 20-1. You stellar regular season. Obviously, came up a bit short in playoffs, first round in 8. It's kind of your thoughts on the year overall. Again, with a younger group, a lot of first and second year guys. Brock kind of took over. Just kind of your thoughts on the year as a whole and how that kind of played out for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, regular season wise, like, team overall, it was one of the funnest teams I've ever played on. Like, the level of talent, the compete level in practice every day was amazing. Our coaching staff, like Heggs is great, Mike's great, Jetton's great. Like, so, when you're around such a great group of guys every day, it just motivates you to want to, come to practice and give your best, right? So And then another thing, which I think is super important, is guys just bought into their roles. Like, you know, I think that's super important for any team. If you want to have success, you got to be like real with yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming into a college basketball program. I'm not going to be the best player anymore. Like everybody's the best on their high school team. I'm coming into a team. We have Brock, Oren, Chase, all these guys up top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are, you know, all conference players. We probably had 10 or 11 guys on our team who could start for most of the teams in the league. But
Right.
the fact that guys were willing to accept, okay, I'm going to play 10 minutes a game, or I'm going to play 15 minutes a game, or I'm going to play 2 minutes a game. You know, when you have a group of guys that are willing to do that and be okay with it, regardless of what happens, that's just a recipe for success, in my opinion. Like, even for me, like in my third year, you know, I hurt my wrist, but near the end of the season, but I was starting games, you know, I was playing well, had a lot of confidence. And then my fourth year, my role changed. And, you know, it sucks going from playing to playing less.
Right.
But if you want, you know, the whole team to eat, basically, you gotta sacrifice. And, you know, we had a great regular season. Obviously, Nate came out in playoffs. They played a hell of a game. I think I know when Mike came on here, I told him to talk a little bit about it too, because, you know, I feel like we could have beaten them that game, not taking anything away from them, because they have a great group too. They have some really talented guys, great coaching staff, but like, you know, they rebounded us like crazy. But, you know, Brock plays half of what he usually plays. Oren plays half of what he usually plays.
Right.
So that kind of threw a wrench in us giving us our best game. So I'm not making any excuses for us either. I think we gave it everything we had, but, you know, it just didn't go our way that night.
And I think I said it with Mike too. Like, someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. I mean, some days you can be the best team on record, and some days it just doesn't fall or whatever. I mean, it's obviously, it sucks when it's playoffs, but I mean, as long as, like you said, you left it all on the floor, there's really not much else you can really do. Obviously, if guys like Oren and Brock are playing half of what they usually do, that kind of throws you for a loop a bit. And then, I mean, the North is kind of a bit more, I think, defensive minded than the South. I think the South is there's a lot of good offenses. To see a team from the North like Nate go for 104, I mean, that doesn't happen all the time, I think. So it was a bit of a anomaly kind of all the way around.
Yeah, they're a tough team. Like, they kicked our ass. It was on the glass especially. But, you know, I think we still put up a great fight. So I'm not mad at the result. And, you know, I think if we had another chance, we would win. So, yeah.
And then I'm telling you, just like a week after the loss, the world shut down. So, I mean, that was the start of things.
That was the start of it all.
Going downhill. Now here we are thinking it's Rudy Gobert that started it all. Reality, it was the ACAC playoffs that just sent everything into a turmoil. For you, obviously being a veteran guy, guys like Oren, Chris Thompson, Dyson, veteran guys in your team, what went through your mind when the season was canceled? Did you think it was going to come? Did you expect it to happen? Like, what kind of went through your mind, like emotion-wise, when you realized might have to wait at least another year to kind of round out my career?
I think, you know, you kind of have an idea based on what's going on, like just in the world in general, but you never want to admit to yourself that it's probably going to get canceled, right? So, and like me and Hags are talking all the time, like, so we have a good relationship, like, so, you know, he's keeping me kind of in the loop, and I'm just, you know, asking, like, you know, what's going on. And so when we found out, it was tough for sure, but at the same time, I think we have to realize that we can use it as an opportunity too, right? Like, as long as we can get in the gym, you can get better and we can improve for next year. As long as you can dribble a ball, like if you can go into your garage or wherever and dribble the ball, you can get better. So obviously it was super tough, but like I said, we realized that there can be benefits that come out of it. So we want to make the most out of it and keep competing for as long as we can in practice and inter squad scrimmages. So yeah,
I think, like you said, you got to find a way to make the best of it. I mean, like I'm with you. Like I was hopefully optimistic, but at the same time, you have that bit of realism. Like you see the numbers going up, like it's not probably going to happen. I mean, I'm a little surprised there's still a few leagues that have still held on to some hope that it's going to happen. I don't think they will, but I mean, like you said, as long as you find a way to get better, like there's always ways you can adapt and kind of do your own thing. There's going to be people when basketball does come back that didn't do anything for the last year and a half, and it's going to show. Then you're going to see the guys and girls that did find a way to adapt for a year and a half, and it's going to be a big discrepancy, I think, in talent. But as long as you put in the work to find a way, I think you can navigate this as safe as you possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like we had a talk in practice yesterday about this, and like Oren actually said, like I don't want to put him on the spot, but said he was almost in tears when the season got canceled because he loves the game so much.
Right.
And that love for the game is something that I think runs really deep with our team.
Right.
So, if you love the game, you're going to try to pursue some type of goal when you're chasing that next season, right? So as long as you love the game and you're trying to get better, then that's what's going to be the separator.
Yeah. And if you don't, like in a time like this right now, like if you don't pursue some way to get basketball in your life, whether it's workouts, dribbling the ball in your house, got to question how much you actually love the game. Like question how much this means to you. Because if you're not willing to put in the work now when nobody's really watching or nobody's watching, do you really love it as much as you think you do?
Right. Yeah, exactly. If they, like you said, a couple leagues might have games which if they can do it safely, that'd be good for them. But for the most part, most of us, there's not necessarily like a meaningful game. I don't want it, like meaningful is a bad word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, so, you got to find that internal motivation, I guess. And that has to stem from a true love for the game. So I think, like I said, I think our team really has that. I know I definitely have it. So I think that's what's gonna come down to, really.
Hypothetically speaking, because 2021-22 season is a year away still. If everybody comes back, because again, with fourth-year guys listed on your roster online, a lot of young guys still very much in the mix. Hypothetically speaking, how good can Lethbridge be when this all comes back? Having seen the guys in the gym now with practices and everything, with another kind of year of this to get ready for next season, how good do you think this team can be when season gets back and rolling?
Yeah, for sure. I think we can be as good as last year, if not better. And I think there's no excuse that we wouldn't be better, at least from, a talent or like a skill standpoint, right? Because we've had that time to improve your skill. And like I said, we all love the game, so we're always trying to get better, right? So I think we would be one of the best teams in the country again. And, that comes from the level of talent we have, the love for the game. Our coaching staff is great, of course. Like Mike's in the gym all the time working with guys. Hags obviously does a whole bunch. Jetton does a bunch for us. So I think from our whole program, we're just making improvements. I think we would definitely be back right up by the top for sure.
I see Mike on Instagram like every day. He's in the gym with guys, like the Breakfast Club, is what they
Mhm.
call it, I guess. Like in there every day.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think it's all day. Like he's in there like there's morning Instagram stories, there's afternoon Instagram stories, and
Yeah.
he's in the gym doing his thing.
Mhm.
And that guy
Yeah.
just loves the gym.
Yeah, he does. And like obviously with how good of a basketball mind he is,
Right.
it's awesome to have him like be around guys. Like
Mhm.
for me, I definitely try to take advantage of it as much as I can. Like just asking him things or going to train with him. Like he, sends us clips of stuff on YouTube, or he built a workout plan for us, like in the weight
Wow.
room that guys can do. Like he's definitely taken his role as an assistant coach very seriously, and like I think guys really appreciate that. So yeah.
And comes back to what you said with guys this year on the floor, adapting to new roles. This is his new role now, going from player to assistant coach, and he's taking it and run with it and playing it well. And like you said, all the guys seem to be buying in, and himself included, and making workout plans and everything. Like he's a guy you just want to pick his brain and see what he knows.
Yeah,
He's
exactly. And
such a great mind.
it's the same with Haggy. Like
Mm-hmm.
he played at such a high level, even just like him telling stories about when he played in university or when he played
Right.
pro. Like it's just like really special to me to be around people that love the game like I do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I'll have
I
to
really.
get I'll have to get Heggy on here too, just to share some of
Oh
the stories that you guys hear all the time. I'll find
yeah,
myself just staring and just listening and
yeah,
forget I have to ask the question.
for sure.
Is there anything else on your journey, your story, Lethbridge that you want to add in before I add in a couple of lighthearted ones that came in and the one that I ask everybody at the end?
Okay. I mean, not too much, honestly. Like, I think it's tough because I just want to kind of give like say something inspirational, but I'm like, like I said before, if you love the game enough
Right.
and you put in the work, you don't want to chase results. I'll say you don't want to chase results. You just
Mm-hmm.
want to play the game because you love it. You shouldn't be playing if you want to get accolades or you want to get stats or whatever. You play the game because you love it, and if you play it that way, you play it the right way, you're gonna get those things anyways, and it's gonna feel a hell of a lot better. So, and anybody that's listening to this, I think that's the best advice I can give right now.
That's that's pretty good. That's pretty. I put you on the spot, and you came up with that. It's not a bad result at all.
Thanks.
Someone asked on Instagram. I'm not making this up. Do you have a feeling what's coming already?
No, I have no idea, but I'm sure it's ridiculous.
Why do you look so much like Tony Stark?
Oh my god. Okay, I know who sent this in, and I just want to say I don't look anything like Tony Stark at all. Um, does it say who sent it in?
It does. I won't
I
give it
can't.
away. I won't give it away on here unless you want to guess. I got to turn my
Okay.
phone back on.
Okay. I know who said it for sure. But I don't look like Tony Stark.
No, okay. I mean, he seemed pretty confident that you would maybe agree with that you look like Tony Stark. I
No.
mean, the way it came through, I'm going to read it word for word just before we reveal who it was. It says, why does he look so much like Tony Stark? And who do you think it was?
I think it was Jet stuff.
No, it was not.
Really?
Do you have
Wow.
do you have any other second
Was it
guesses?
Trey?
No.
Wow. That is then I have no clue. That is crazy. Jet's been texting me every day saying that because of my facial hair, but
I understand now that I see the picture. Like I understand why this question came up at the start
oh,
too. As soon as I saw the mustache, I was like, I know why this is coming
it
up.
was it was worse. Last year I had a goatee, so that's when it
Oh,
started. I was like, oh, it was so bad. It was horrible, man.
that may be why too. It
Yeah.
came from a Cooper Hayward.
Oh, Coop, of course. Shout out Coop. That's
He
funny. I would have to talk to him about that.
see what he. I mean, they could have gave you someone worse as a celebrity
Yeah,
lookalike. I mean, Tony Stark's not a bad, I guess,
yeah,
person to be
he's
compared
cool.
to.
Yeah, he's cool. He's whatever. He's got a lot of money. He's a cool
I mean,
superhero suit, I guess.
he ended Thanos in
Yeah,
Avengers, so I mean, it's not a bad comparison. I mean, it takes it as it runs.
yeah, that's all right with me, I guess. But I'll still say no way. That's
Still say
funny.
no way. Okay. Um, one I ask everybody at the end kind of stems on keeping conversations going, like we talked about with Black Lives Matter and Movember and everything else going on in the world. How do we get more people paying attention to CCAA youth sports basketball from a player's perspective? What are things like you'd want to see done, or just how do we get it to where it should and deserves to be? Because I don't think enough people pay attention, and the CCAA, I've said it before, and I can go on this for hours, which I won't right now. Nobody pays attention. Nobody talks about it
Mhm,
until not even nationals. Like there's hardly a mention anywhere.
mhm.
So how do we get it to where it should be?
Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, of course, like your podcast and the things you do on Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff are. Oh, didn't freeze again.
No, you're
All that.
good.
Sorry. Like I was saying, all that kind of stuff is obviously super helpful in growing our game because, like you said, it definitely doesn't get the attention it deserves. Which to me doesn't. I think the reason it doesn't is because the casual basketball fan doesn't understand like how talented these players are.
Right.
Like even in the ACAC, there's been multiple guys in the past couple of years that even I've played against that go play pro. Like
Mm-hmm.
to even sniff pro basketball, you have to be so skilled
Mm-hmm.
that it's ridiculous. Like I feel like a lot of people, for example, like I help coach at my old high school, or I'll go to practice and play with the guys, and they see me, and because I'm playing at the CCAA level, they think they can beat me, and I'm like, there's not a chance you can touch anybody on our team.
Right.
Like JV, I'm not hating on anything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being real with them. Like there's no way you could beat anybody on on my
No.
team. It doesn't even make sense. So I think getting people to understand how good the players are
Mm-hmm.
and how good the games actually are is a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like shout out Lethbridge College, obviously, because they do an incredible job with, media on Instagram and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. Obviously, we have all our games broadcasted, but that's something that can really be utilized to grow awareness about the game on the college and university level in
Mm-hmm.
Canada. And I think, once that kind of starts to become more of a norm for other schools as well,
Yeah.
then the awareness will definitely spread. But yeah, I think it's just understanding how good the players are and getting more media attention. That's, to me, that's all it is, because there's some really really great players in the leagues.
I feel like too, like on that, like players going pro, like there's a lot of guys and girls that go play pro from the CCAA, and I think, like you said, the casual fan don't really realize, one, how tough it is to go pro to begin with, and two, pro doesn't just mean playing in the States.
Right.
Like pro, like there's like countries that you wouldn't think have pro leagues have a pro league, and to even get consideration to play there is a big deal.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I think a lot of like the casual fans have kind of their blinders on. They see the NBA, G League a little bit, and then they think that's really it. And if they don't go there, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of schools, like you said, do a good job on social media, getting their games out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of them need to do better when players go pro.
Mm-hmm.
Continue to talk about them being kind of success stories from your college,
Mm-hmm.
because then players are going to see so and so went here, fans are going to see so and so went here, maybe more interested in watching
Mm-hmm.
to see
Yeah.
them play at the college level before they go pro,
Mm-hmm.
to see that there is professional leagues outside of the states that people only watch.
Yeah, exactly. Basketball is a global game. Play it in like every country in the world. So, I mean, yeah, it's just about getting that fact out there
Yeah.
that there's some really great players in these leagues. So yeah, for sure.
And like I know SIDs do the best they can. I mean, locally, I think most schools are probably relatively strong
Mm-hmm.
with kind of community, like fan base and whatever else. But as soon as you go, like I can guarantee you, I'll go out here where I am and ask somebody about a school in Alberta, and they'd have no clue what I'm
Oh
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
I could say I'm talking to Jackson from Lethbridge.
Mhm.
Who's that? Who's that?
Yeah,
No one would
yeah.
have a clue. And the day I see like CCAA highlights on national TV
Mhm.
is the day like I'll die, because like heaven forbid there's even a score on the bottom.
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool. That would be very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it's like some highlight of the night, like some guy breaks a backboard on a
Yeah.
alley oop dunk. I don't see like Sportsnet, TSN giving it a sniff.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like I said before, like I think what you do is really important to our game because like even people that don't play in college, like I know a bunch of people that listen to the podcast or even just follow you on social media. So that's already doing a good job and it's only gonna continue to grow. So I know like not only from me but from a lot of other people we appreciate what you do.
I feel like I should add this in too, because I think of this every time I ask the question. I don't want people, when they hear me ask it and hear the answers come out, that I'm like fetching for people to compliment it, because like I thought of that right now and I'm like, this probably sounds bad every time I ask it. And I'm like, I don't
No,
want that
man.
to be
No.
misconstrued in any way. Because I'm like, realistically, my thought process is everybody has their own ideas of what needs to be done.
Mhm.
And I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't really know how else to say this. Like, I don't really want to sound douchey, but I mean, like, I'm not just here like to compliment it. Like, it's not what I want. But at the
No.
same time, I mean, no one else
No.
really does it. So
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't just be saying that. It's true, and I know that everybody that comes on recognizes that as
yeah.
well. So I'm not just saying that to say that for sure. I mean it.
Though I that's just me. Like every time I ask it, I get off and I'm like, they said me again. People are gonna listen to this and be like, this guy's an ass. He's just setting them up every single time. I might just make it. I might have to make say like outside of what I'm doing, what else do you want to see? So I don't set myself up.
Yeah,
I mean,
amazing.
uh, any last words from you? Any shout outs you want to give? Anybody that texts you to say you got to mention my name while you're on here? Like any last word? I'll leave it to you. I'll put you on the spot for a second time already. I apologize.
Okay. I'll shout out my team, my school, obviously, Lethbridge College. All my teammates, shout out my coaches, Hags, Jet, Mike, um, anybody, honestly, anybody that's listening to this, that's super cool to me. Like, I've listened to this podcast, and now having the chance to come on is like, if you take the time out of your day to listen to anything I have to say, I appreciate that. So, yeah, shout out my family as well, of course, my girlfriend. Yeah, and like I said before, if you love the game during everything that's going on in our world, you can use it to do something good, not only for yourself but for other people. So just keep that in mind. Be aware of the power you have with something like the game of basketball.
We'll end it on that. I want to thank you again for doing this. Like, this was a ton of fun, and like I said, you were recommended a few times by coaches, teammates, whoever else. Disappointed you didn't agree with the Tony Stark comparison, but Coop will have to find someone new to compare you to. But anytime you want to do this again, by all means, let me know. Jump on. We'll make it happen for you.
For sure, man. I appreciate the opportunity.